November 26th, 2018. Dave Welling told me to stop caring for animals. Back in the 90s, Dave Welling came to do a photo tour at Wildlife on Easy Street, and I was his guide. I was his guide because I was our only photo tour guide. Throughout the day, I learned that Dave had been involved with and on the board of the directors for the Wildlife Waystation since 1987. As evening approached, I told him we'd have to call it a day because I have to feed the cats. I had to feed the cats back then. It was often only Jamie and me, and maybe one other volunteer, to feed 100 big cats. It was a 3-hour chore every day. Dave said the sanctuary would never succeed if I was the person feeding the cats, cleaning the cages, and giving the tours. As founder, I needed to be out in the community, building relationships with lawmakers and donors. At the time, I just laughed. There was no way I could tell Jamie, "Sorry, kid, it's all on you. I gotta go schmoozing." In the mid-90s, the Wildlife Waystation was in its prime and was the model to emulate, though. What Dave said stuck with me, and I began looking for ways to get the animal care done by volunteers so that I would have some free time to attend public meetings involving wildlife. I would much rather have cared for the cats all day because I love them, and that's my comfort zone, but it was selfish. If I wanted to ensure these cats would never go hungry, never be abandoned, never go without vet care, I had to figure out ways to let the public know about their plight. I had to do things I hated, like talking to strangers, asking for help, and becoming the person the media came to whenever there was a slow news day or an attack by a privately owned big cat. If I really cared for big cats, I had to stop being their daily caregiver. I had to create a system and a structure to enlist the help of volunteers that I could trust and give them the power to make decisions. Jamie and I built the volunteer committee as the ultimate authority over all volunteer matters. The group of 5 to 7 people always included Jamie and me, but decisions had to be unanimous, and that led to great thought in every protocol and disciplinary measure. That body of work became the sanctuary in a box that we share with other sanctuaries so that they can make the most of their volunteer force without having to reinvent the wheel. That led to a volunteer force of over 100 people and a staff of 14 who put in the equivalent of 52 full-time staff, and has enabled us to increase our net assets by about $1 million a year. It enabled us to be the leaders in the political actions to end private possession of big cats and cub petting. And then I gave a link to bigcatrescue.org/2017 annual report. I looked him up and found his email address and saw that he'd reached out to me after Hurricane Irma, but I was so busy then I'd only written back to say we were fine. Today I sent him the above, what I just read to you. And then the second part is separate. Jamie is such a good storyteller. This happened last night and she posted it on her Facebook page. We had a good fossil hunting spot on the river and stayed a little late, leaving us not much time to make it back to the launch. Then, just as the sun set, the battery for the motor died. It got dark quick and we had to paddle like mad, but we were making no progress because of the current. We killed ourselves for every inch gained up the river. Several times we were actually going backwards despite heroic efforts. At times we got out and waded in the darkness, dragging the boat behind. This on a day when we had seen the biggest alligators ever in the river. Where it was too deep, we tied a rope to the boat and pulled it along the shoreline as we walked the steep banks, but it just kept beaching. We got stuck in some quicksand and slid down a few muddy clay banks. Eventually, we made it to a place near the launch, but the rest of the way was treacherous by water, so we beached the boat and hiked through the thick forest in the pitch black back to our truck, our path lit only by a cell phone. What should have taken 20 minutes took over an hour, but we laughed the whole way. And then it says the boat's name is Meg. I don't know if you can see, those are like shark teeth painted on the boat. If you're enjoying my diary, please like, share, and subscribe. You can find other ways to connect to me over at bigcatrescue.org/Carole.Baskin.